everybody. So for this video, I want to talk all about traveling in the winter to Quebec City. I absolutely loved Quebec City when I did a summer vacation there, and so I decided to go back on a solo trip at the end of December into early January, and I had an amazing time, but I will say that the cold in Quebec City is no joke, obviously, and if you're from a place that has a warmer temperature, it can be a bit of a shock, so you do want to be prepared for the extreme weather in Quebec City, so I wanted to use this video to talk about it and to help you have an amazing trip too. First and foremost, you need to dress properly for the weather. I mean, this shouldn't go without saying, but you really need to do this, especially if you're going to go out at night and it's bitterly cold. So this means that you need to wear layers. I personally love long underwear for winter destinations. I got 2 pairs of fleece long underwear that kept me snuggly and warm. They were wonderful. And I also did the same thing in Iceland as well when I went there in the winter. So layer, layer, layer. Even if you think you'll be fine, just don't underestimate the cold, especially because when the wind comes off the St. Lawrence River, it can be biting. So long underwear is an absolute necessity for your trip to Quebec City. In addition to that, you also want to layer with gloves, a nice hat, a scarf to keep all of your skin protected when you go outside. It'll really make you feel better, and especially don't skimp on the gloves. There was one day where I honestly thought I didn't need them and I really regretted it. So layer, 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 layer. I can't say it enough. Your most important item of clothing, though, is going to cover your feet. Yes, I'm talking about your boots. Do not skimp or mess around when it comes to your boots. I am not kidding. So Quebec City is quite hilly anyway. You have the upper old town where you have the chateau and the amazing views, as well as a lot of cool things to see outside of the city walls, down by the port. So you're going to be doing a ton of walking, and a lot of that walking will be going up and downhill. Now, of course, you can take a funicular up to the chateau back and forth, but you obviously don't want to be doing that every single time. You want to go between the two parts of the city, so you're going to be walking. Quebec City, they do a fantastic job with the snow and the ice. Like, in comparison to New Jersey, Quebec City is awesome with snow removal. So, absolutely no shaming the city. They certainly do know how to handle snow. But then it's also your responsibility to wear good quality snow boots. I did not do this. I brought these boots with me that were not worn in. I don't even think they were snow boots necessarily, but more like suited for the rain or the spring. And then they were also too narrow, which don't do that either. Always bring in a well-worn pair of shoes. Don't be like me. So I ended up having to buy a new pair of boots in Quebec City. Now, the new boots I bought were beautiful. They were Canadian made. They were awesome, and they could handle the snow and ice very well. But seriously, save your money and use a pair of well-worn snow boots if you have them, especially if you know that they're reliable. And also be very aware of the ice. The ice is slippery. Again, the city does an absolutely amazing job with de-icing, but sometimes, believe it or not, the streets themselves can be less slippy than the sidewalks, and you really need to know where you're going. So investing in a good pair of shoes is absolutely critical for walking around Quebec City, because even though it's cold, the city is absolutely stunning and you want to be able to walk. So don't mess around with your boots. I cannot say it enough. And while we're on the topic, don't be afraid to go outside in Quebec City during the winter. I read a pretty funny post on Reddit that basically said if a little snow scared people who live in Quebec, they wouldn't be able to do anything from November to April. And I thought that that was really, really true. So as long as you're dressed appropriately for the weather, you'll be fine. Everything's open. For example, I went to the Nordic Spa and it was a beautiful experience, very relaxing, very stunning. And I could have spent hours there, and it was open. So don't be afraid of a lot of attractions being closed. Quebec is open for business in the winter, especially during the popular times such as Christmas season when everything's decorated, to Winter Carnival, which takes place in February. This city really does know how to make the outside enjoyable even in the coldest weather. So don't shy back from going outside. It really is pretty, and if you're prepared, it's truly not that bad. Now, what if the cold does get the best of you? Well, never fear. Quebec City has a lot of wonderful indoor attractions as well. I personally love the art museum here. I spent well over 2 hours inside. It was awesome. And there are an abundance of shops, art galleries, coffee shops. Like you could really go from bakery to bakery having a coffee and a croissant if you really want to. So there's plenty to do inside as well if you're finding that the cold is getting to you just a little bit, because it can definitely happen. All in all, if you're on the fence about going to Quebec City in the winter, don't be. It really is a wonderful destination. And as someone who's been there in the summer and in the winter, winter is an entirely different experience and I highly recommend it. Truly, the most important thing is that you're dressing appropriately for the weather. Those boots are really, really important, like I said. And don't be scared to check your bag if you need to bring super warm clothing with you. I mean, that's what I did, and it was totally worth it. If you have good clothing, you'll be able to handle the weather in Quebec City without a problem. And like I said, if you start getting a little cold, this city has a lot of wonderful indoor attractions that can't be missed. So have a great time in Quebec City. I know you'll love it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Happy travels.